Hey everybody, so here I am. I came down, I'm on the Ojai river bottom. I mean, look at this, beautiful. So I came down for the week just to shake up myself, change up the environment, get my creative mojo moving. And I wanted to share this month one of the things that has been the most powerful experiment I've done. Persistently and consistently over the years, this experiment has helped me be more creative and more fulfilled. And that is an information detox. So the reason this is so powerful is that when we really look at our lives, we realize how influenced we've been by others, by incoming information, by our parents and our neighbors and whether it's our coaches, our churches, our communities, our media, our TV shows, the sounds we listen to, the music we listen to. All of those things are informing our thought patterns. And they also inform how we feel very much. And one of the things I know about the creative process is, one, we are creation. We're always creating, good, bad, and otherwise. We're always in creation through what we do, say, be, all of that. We're always actively participating in the creation of our lives and our things and our relationships. So we have to be very careful that what our materials are ones that we want in our creations. So if we are listening to information, we must be cautious that these are the things that we want to be programming ourselves with, so that when we create, whether that's in relationships, in conversations, in our making, that these are the things we want to be putting into it. And I think it's very easy for us to think it's important and that we're missing out if we're not listening to all the news and listening to the latest podcasts and listening to the greatest teachers and listening to all the latest music, etc., etc. Reading the latest books, getting more informed. And one of the things I don't do when I'm coaching people privately is I don't advise much reading. I don't give assignments for reading because the people I work with are already very intelligent, right? They've already gathered so much information. It's not time for more information. It's time to weed through that information and really be clear what we don't want to keep consuming, so that we can create from a place of empowerment. Like, I'm choosing what's going to go into my creations. So I decided years ago, I did a 10-day information detox. And that meant I was really strict, actually, because that's how I used to be. Black and white, all or nothing. That has changed. But when I started this, it was complete no, like 10 days, no information coming. So I didn't read anything. I didn't watch anything. I did not listen to anything. I was just quietly moving through the world. And I was reminded of that on this walk, because I was coming out of the house and there's this really interesting technique that I've been curious about educating myself on. And I thought, oh, I could put my headphones in and listen while I walk. And I thought, no. You're going to walk and you're going to be present with the sounds and the sights and the smells and how your feet feel on the river bottom. You're going to be totally present and quiet. And so I invite you to do an information detox. And you may do it gently, or you may do it like I did, full on. I think when I came off of that initial detox, what I did was I said no more. Like, the second time I did it, I said there was going to be no nonfiction books. There was going to be no podcast that informed me. Like, I basically said, I'm not going to take in any information that's going to make me a better person. That if I was going to be listening to something, it was going to be for the joy of the just pure music of it, for the fiction novel that was going to be, really take my mind to some imaginary place, that I wouldn't do anything that informed me to be a better person. And so each time I've done this information detox, it has changed. And I did one in March 2020 and got off of social media, and I haven't been back on Facebook or Instagram since. I do go on Instagram for the Creatives Retreats page because I've agreed with Val that I would go post things. But then I take the app on and off literally every single time I post. I take the app back off because I don't want to be pulled to look. I don't want to, we make excuses if we're being truthful. Like, I would make a lot of excuses for why I needed that information. A good informed citizen knows what's going on. A global citizen of the world who travels should know what's going on. A smart person reads certain books. A cultured, intelligent person knows what's going on, right? There was all this like knowing. And that if I'm really, I guess, a good person, I would consistently try to grow. But what I was realizing was that my growing meant consuming more information to think about. So the results of information detox are letting go of all the thinking. So I'm not putting so much information in my mind that has to be categorized, pondered, thought about, acted on, discussed. It's really creating space. I have more space when I do information detox. And so nowadays my information intake is a lot less, and I'm much more aware of the quality of the information I'm taking in and the stories I have around it, the justifications. So I really realize I have to stick to my intent. Like, what are my intentions? Be love, be kind, be present. So if I'm going to be present, you can watch when you start taking in more information that it takes you out of this moment. Some information can help you quickly get into the moment, but generally a lot of information we take in takes us out of the moment because we begin thinking about something which is not happening right here. So this is an interesting exploration of, we put a lot of value, and so I'm inviting you to examine what value do you put on incoming information. How does it make you who you are, or who do you perceive you are because you intake certain information? And can you just stay curious about that? Is that true? How do I want to live my life? How full do I need to be a good, loving, kind human? Do I need to know that everything's going on? Do I need to get caught and informed about what's happening? And so it's really your own experiment to question and free yourself from so much information, even music. So we think, well, I'm used to having music on in the background, but it's really a distraction away from being with ourselves. Like, yes, it can be an asset. This is not black and white. But do we remember what it's like to be in silence and just doing the activity we're doing for the sake of doing it itself? If we are walking, are we just walking by ourselves and being in nature, being present? Or are we listening, talking, thinking? Are we walking with friends every time we take a walk so that we're talking about the latest and greatest gossip and information about lots of other people? Where does that fill your mind up? How can you do an information detox simply so you can experiment and know what works for you? This isn't because you shouldn't ever have information incoming, but if we never question things and we don't test our limits, we don't actually know anymore. Because as we evolve, like, we're always expanding, we're always growing, we're always changing, we're always maturing, we're always getting older, and the time is passing. So what I thought about myself 3 weeks ago before I came on this trip is different than now. What I thought about myself 5 years ago, that when people say this is how I am, that's when I always inside I'm thinking, okay, like I could say that like regularly, but I'm always changing. We are always changing. So it's a good opportunity to check yourself. If you're making things and creating, where do you get distracted on Pinterest and Instagram and thinking, let me go look what everyone's doing? What happens if you just quietly get the materials in front of you with no other incoming information and you just wait? You're just like with it and you wait. What is the creative impulse that comes over you? If you're in silence at a meal with friends and you don't fill the silence and you're just quietly waiting, what creative impulse will come over you? Like, what will you say? If you're not taking in information, it creates space for all the information we've all had for all these years to kind of metabolize and move around in different ways. And then you wait and you're like, some creative impulse to say, do, go, make, move. All of that stuff is a creative impulse if we give it space. So there you go. Back to information detox. I invite you to consider, what would it be like to experiment with an information detox? How long would you do it for? What would you detox from? What would you eliminate? What would you be curious about from this experiment? What if you're just open and say, what would happen? Let me just notice. How do I feel? What do I think? What am I doing after, say, 10 days of an information detox? The information's for you. It's you getting to know you a little bit better when we are inundated and bombarded with so much information from the outside world. So have fun. I hope it helps you like it's always helping me over and over. Every variation always seems to bring me new awareness, new opportunity for feeling fulfilled and whole.